Stop wasting your life away. I'm gonna share with you the 7 things that I quit to go from a broke university student to multi-millionaire by age 26. When people see my supercar, they see me speaking on stages in front of hundreds of people, or the cool trips that I go on, I constantly get this DM on Instagram, which is, Richard, what exactly did you do to get here? And I always respond back that it's actually the things that I don't do. Starting with number 1, stop taking advice from your family. Listen, chances are if you're like me, you don't come from a wealthy family. Both of my parents immigrated from Beijing, China as students, and they got jobs right out of university as engineers. And so my parents didn't have a business background, and I grew up never having an entrepreneurial environment. And it's no one's fault. It just genuinely is the way that the odds lined up. And so from a young age, I always knew I wanted more. I knew that being tight on money, going to restaurants and my parents telling me, hey, don't order what you want to eat, order the thing that's the cheapest on the menu, that wasn't normal. So I don't know if this is relatable to you, but just this constant reinforcement of a save, frugality, don't take risks, take the safe route kind of mindset. That was what was ingrained into me from 0 to 18 years old. But here's the thing. I absolutely love my parents. My parents sacrificed, they did everything for me. But the problem is we begin to associate our love, respect, and admiration for our parents with the business and financial advice that they give us. But here's the thing. Would you ever take fitness advice from an overweight individual at the gym? No. So then why would we take financial advice from someone who isn't where we want to be financially? So then who do we take advice from? This takes me to number 2, which is don't read books. Execute on them. So because I didn't want to take advice from my parents, I went to the easiest form of information that I could access, which are highly successful business owners who wrote out books. And so I got introduced to the classic business personal finance books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Think and Grow Rich. And while reading books is great, the thing that set me back by probably a solid 1 year was I just stopped right there. Consuming information. I always tell my mentees that information without implementation is absolutely meaningless, because the ideas that you get from books, the inspiration, you're so excited it's hard for you to fall asleep. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, I'm gonna take over the world. But then you don't take action. And then you go find another YouTube video and you listen to another podcast or you read another book, and then the cycle continues over and over and over. So if you're stuck right now, your income is capped, or your business hasn't taken off, I'll tell you, reading another book is not the answer. It's execution. And execution consistently. And what that looks like is 3 to 5 hours of consistent deep work and working on your business, either in the morning if you're a morning person like me, or if you're a night individual doing the same thing but 5, 6, 10 p.m. at nighttime, and doing that Monday through Saturday. That is what ultimately causes you to make more. And because execution is so important, I want to share with you number 3, which is to turn your Netflix time into your side hustle time. Listen closely to me. If you don't sacrifice your 5 to 9, then you will never be able to ditch the 9 to 5. Look, when I was 18, 19 years old, I knew, okay, I have a time ticking bomb because I'm gonna graduate university when I'm 21, 22 years old. And if I can't figure out a business by the time I graduate, that I was absolutely screwed. That a 9 to 5 was the absolute worst thing in the world. Now, is that actually the case? Is 9 to 5 actually dreadful? To be quite honest, for most of us, no, you're gonna survive. You're gonna pay the bills, you're gonna have your own apartment, and you're gonna live a decent life. But I created that narrative in my mind, and I almost tricked myself into thinking that 9 to 5 is absolutely unacceptable, because the pain of having to work a 9 to 5 and slave away at something that I wasn't passionate about, that is what drove me. So at the age of 21, when I graduated university, this is 2020, I ended up doing $500,000 in sales at a 90% profit margin. So basically $450,000 US in profit at 21 years old. And I did that from the moment I launched the business, which is a digital product business teaching college students how to be more productive, all the way to the end of the year, December 2020. And I remember at the end of that year, I had so many buddies from college basically just write me off. He just got lucky. Oh, he built an audience on social media and his videos went viral. It is what it is. But the thing is, what 99% of my peers, my friends, those that knew me from college, what they didn't realize is that every single day for basically 3 years straight, every morning from 5 a.m. when I woke up, all the way to about 8, 9 a.m., I would be hustling my face off for about 3 hours a day, which isn't that crazy of a time. But if you do that 6 days a week, 6 times 3, that's 18 hours every single week. You multiply that by 4 weeks a month, I'm talking about 50, 60, 70 hours of consistent effort stacked over a 3-year time span. And that was a separating factor of why I was able to make it, and all of my friends wrote me off and said, he just got lucky. The problem with a lot of us is that we have a lot of time and motivation, we just direct it towards the wrong things. When I was at college, I remember my friends being in fraternities, and every single Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, they just go out. Like literally 9, 10 p.m. at nighttime, I would be in my dorm, either getting ready to go to sleep or working away at some side hustle. And I would wake up the next morning at 5 a.m. and I kid you not, there would be people coming back home, drunk, throwing up, stumbling over themselves. And I would just think like, oh my gosh, so much wasted time. And back then I knew I'm stacking, I'm accumulating skill set, I'm putting in the work when literally no one else is putting the work. And just to prove this with you, I'm gonna play a segment of a YouTube video that I've literally never played online before. This is when I was a sophomore, 19 years old, inside my dorm room, and I was working on my dropshipping business on a Friday night. Take a look at this.
Well, that's Friday, June 1st. It's 2018. My name is Richard, and I'm a sophomore at UCLA, and I kind of just wanted to document my process of transitioning into entrepreneurship. I wanted to see if this entrepreneurship stuff could really free up my life. Maybe I can just make some extra money on the side to pay for medical school. Dropshipping is really hot right now. Seems like it's so saturated. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna give it a shot. About a $200 course, and my friends across the room are watching movies, other friends hanging out with people, but I'm just feeling really introverted. So I'm just gonna start working on my dropshipping stuff, and we will see where this takes me.
That video was the very first video that I ever documented at the age of 19, and I've never looked back since. And so this is my greatest challenge to you. Would you rather watch Netflix for an extra 1, 2, 3 episodes today? Or would you rather have a business generating $100,000 a month for you? You could literally be traveling anywhere in the world with anyone that you want. And on top of that, watch Netflix and do all the stuff that you were doing anyways before, but just have that 3 years from now. I think most of us want the idea of the 3 years, but are not willing to sacrifice and put in the pain. Prove them wrong. And speaking of side hustles, if you want the exact 11-page Google Doc playbook where I documented step-by-step how we went from $0 to $100,000 a month with digital products at a 90% profit margin, and I did this by the age of 22, go over to my Instagram, Richard YU Allen, right there, and DM me there one word. The word playbook, and I'll send you over that Google Doc as my token of appreciation for you being here. The next thing that I dropped is understanding that your phone is your greatest time suck. For years, when I was in high school, I didn't realize how terrible of a device this was. The thing is, most people spend time consuming content when the reality is you should be using this device to create content. There's this push and pull of all the people that are making money and taking advantage of these free social media tools, what you're watching right now, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, to actually build real businesses, build a personal brand, accumulate attention. And then there's the 99% of people that are just scrolling on their phones all day, making this 1% wealthier and wealthier. And even more disturbing is you have to fundamentally understand that these companies, both on the social media side and the cell phone side, they are all designed by some of the smartest PhDs, smartest engineers in the world to get you hooked so you spend more time on them. And so I noticed a couple years ago that when I was actively trying to get work done, if a notification popped up, a ping or a phone call would pop up, and it could be something important, but did I actually have to respond right then and there? And so I did something that I had never done before at the age of 18. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And from that moment, in the last 8 years, I have never once picked up a phone call from someone calling me in the moments. And then when I finish whatever the work is that I'm doing, I check my phone by my choice, not someone else's, and I see, oh, I missed a phone call from my mom. And then I call them back or I respond to them. And the thing that held me back from doing this is I remember thinking, but what if someone's gonna die? What if someone needs me right then and there? And I remember reading the book from Tim Ferriss, The 4 Hour Work Week, and he said, chances are that will never happen. And I can tell you that there's never been one time in the last 8 years that I have missed a phone call that resulted in someone dying. Seriously, there's never been a situation. So here's some real tactical takeaways. Go to your iPhone and turn off all notifications, except if you're getting value from this channel, shameless plug, hit that subscribe button, and if you'd like, turn on the notification bell because I make videos like this every single week. But serious, turn off all notifications, even that's for me. Second thing, go to your iMessage, and if you have a Mac computer that's connected to your iPhone, disconnect the iMessage notification that pops into the top right corner, and truthfully, your attention is worth way more than a little red bubble telling you that someone liked your post. Point number 5 is to ditch the wake up time inconsistency. I'll tell you that the lowest energy that I've had are on days where I wake up at 5 a.m., but then I stay up super, super late past midnight, and then the next morning I sleep into 10 a.m. or even worse, past noon. And the thing is, if you don't have a dialed in morning routine, then you'll never have a very productive 3 to 4 hour deep work. And I've noticed that my energy levels, my focus, I just can't get into routine. And so here's the greatest hack. Don't have a wake up alarm, have a end of day alarm. Every single day at 6 p.m., Monday through Sunday, my phone goes off at 6 p.m. and that warns me I have to stop working, because I know that from 6 p.m. to about 8 p.m., I got 2 hours of wind down time where I could spend time with my wife, I can relax, I can watch some TV if I wanted to, and by 8 p.m., I'm in the shower brushing my teeth. Within 30 minutes after that, 8:30, 9 p.m., it's lights out. This next one, number 6, is gonna make you really uncomfortable, but you need to hear it. You have to stop watching porn. Now, this one is deeply personal to me because this is something that, quite frankly, I struggled with, and I think 90% of guys struggle with. When you're alone and you get a little bored, sure, you could go watch Netflix, but what's more fun and exciting and dopamine rewarding for your brain than pulling down your pants and doing you know what? And by the way, I want to make something very clear. When I say the word addiction, I know the majority of you basically go, no, I'm not addicted, I'm not addicted. By addiction, and what I mean when I say I'm addicted, is you watch it once every other week. You watch it once a month. And you're like, Richard, what's the big deal? That's not addiction, dude. Addiction's like, I gotta do this thing like 2-3 times a day. No, that's not addiction. Addiction is defined by you know that you shouldn't do it, and you have a feeling of guilt every single time you do it, and you feel terrible every single time you do it, regardless of what the frequency is. It could be as infrequent as once every 3 months, but you still continue to do it. That's what an addiction is. And what I've seen within my own life is that every single time I give in to PMO, which stands for pornography, masturbation, orgasm, I have an intense drop off in my aggression, my level of execution. And the crazy thing for me is I get social anxiety. I almost just get nervous because it's like, I feel internally that I've done something wrong. And so I don't have a formula for you in this video. I have a couple other videos on my channel that might be useful if you need any help with this. But you need to seek out help and attention and start being intentional about letting go of this energy killer. Point number 7 is to stop being the victim in your own story. Remember when I told you a couple minutes ago that my parents never supported me? Well, it wasn't just my parents. It was also my roommates. It was also my friends in my local church community. It was basically everyone within my upbringing. They kind of just laughed at me. They kind of just discouraged me and said, who do you think you are that want to build a business? How arrogant do you think you actually are? I remember building such an intense resentment that turned into a victim of blaming everyone else. And during this time, I was starting and failing a whole bunch of different businesses. I started up a dropshipping business. I had an ATM business that ended up getting robbed. I had an agency that didn't work out. And in all of these different businesses, I remember this entire time just constantly blaming other people. The reason why I'm successful is because my parents don't support me. The reason why I'm not successful is because my roommate's constantly making jokes and saying, dude, when are you gonna get a real job? And while those things may be true, remember, it's not your fault that these things are happening to you, but it is your responsibility to rise above. There's no one else that's coming to save you. You have to do that yourself. And so take ownership, rip back that pen from other people that have been grabbing onto it, and start writing the story for your own life. And so once you stop doing these 7 things, you're gonna start thinking, well, then what do I dedicate my time to? And so if you wanna learn exactly step-by-step how I went from 0 to $500,000 in digital product sales my first year out of college, and then within 3 years scale that's over 25 million in sales, take a look at this video right here that's gonna explain step-by-step how we did that. I'll see you there.